Hi guys, what's up? It's Julia and welcome back to my channel. The J-Team came out on Paramount Plus exactly 1 year ago today, which is crazy. For today's video, I thought it would be fun to take a little walk down memory lane and talk about the whole experience. I have admired JoJo and her family for as long as I can remember. I would watch all of JoJo's YouTube videos and all of the Success with Jess episodes, and I was just so in awe of how much the Siwa family took up space, which in turn made space for others. I also had a cousin who was obsessed with JoJo and flew across the country to see her in concert, so I just really wanted to be a part of one of her music videos or just to work with her at all. Here's where the story starts to get a little crazy, and for all of you who love manifesting, buckle up. So I went to a dance class at Playground with the choreographer Guy Groove, who's been a very special part of my journey. This was in November of 2019. This was also the same weekend that I booked the prom, so it was a very, very exciting weekend to say the least. I went to his class like I would do every week, and JoJo was there, which was really exciting because I had auditioned for her music videos. I had never seen her in person, but every time I auditioned, I obviously didn't get the job, which in the moment was really sad, but looking back, of course, I'm so grateful for how it ended up happening. I always love seeing people I admire in person. I've talked about this before on my channel, but every time I see someone I look up to in the flesh, it just reminds me that everyone's a human being and everyone has the ability to make such an enormous impact. So I was so excited to see her in person. And then we got put in a group together. This was way before the J-Team. This had nothing to do with it. And I just remember thinking to myself, I'm gonna wanna post this video, so Julia, you better not mess up. Luckily, I made it through and I was so excited. I called my aunt and I told her that I danced with JoJo, and little did I know what was about to happen the next year. I then saw JoJo in another dance class the next month. This was December of 2019. I asked to take a photo with her as a fan. I'll insert that photo right here. Every year I design my calendar and I try to find photos that really inspire me. This is crazy. When I was making my calendar for 2020, I was looking through my camera roll and I saw the photo with JoJo and I was like, oh my God, she really inspires me, put her on the calendar. For no reason, I put that photo on my calendar for December and I booked the movie in December. The photo of us together was on my calendar the month that I booked this movie with her, and I had no idea this was ever going to happen. Crazy, so grateful. I just remember when I went to put the chemistry read on my calendar and I saw that photo, I had a moment of, if this isn't a sign, I don't know what is. I got the first audition for the J-Team, which at the time was called the Dance Team, in November of 2020. This was thick of quarantine, one of the first auditions I had since the pandemic started because the industry was shut down. Fun fact, I really didn't start pursuing on-camera acting seriously until 2020. I didn't find my love for it until I was on set of the prom and I got to see all of these performers with extensive Broadway backgrounds and incredible on-screen experience. A lot of dots just connected for me on that set, but I was on set of that a week before the pandemic started. So I literally got home from filming the prom and I was like, okay, 2020 is gonna be my year of acting. This is gonna be my focus. And then a global pandemic happened. Crazy enough, I don't think it could have worked out better. If we weren't forced to stay in our homes, I would have still been going to dance class and auditioning for theater and doing all the things that I was doing, which of course were amazing, but because we couldn't leave the house, I was on like 6 to 7 Zoom calls every day, doing every casting director class I could find. I was so focused on acting, which had a huge impact on then booking the movie at the end of the year. But looking back, I'm like, oh my God, I remember going into the year thinking maybe I'll book like a co-star this year or we'll see what happens. So booking the movie at the end of the year, if I had known that in January, I would have not believed it at all. So I get the audition. Obviously, I'm super excited just to audition for anything. I read all the information and I'm like, yeah, this is definitely up my alley. Like every kid, I've grown up watching Disney and Nickelodeon, so the thought of getting to be on a show or a movie on those networks was all I dreamed of. This is definitely the craziest audition process I've ever been through. Every time I tell this story, I just remember what a roller coaster it was. I initially auditioned for the Rubies, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, the opportunity to audition for 2 characters. I loved both, but I definitely gravitated toward Ruby D more. I actually worked with 2 different coaches on the scenes, and then I filmed it with one of them and sent that off. And then we also had to freestyle to Talkie Talkie for the dance section. I choreographed a fun little routine in my room, and then my mom and I went to the studio and filmed that. And I actually ended up putting that on my Instagram because I was like, oh, this is just a fun dance video. I'll put that video right here. It's on my YouTube channel as well. And fun fact, this is what I sent in for my dance audition. I didn't hear anything for a week, and I honestly wasn't too stressed about it. I was really proud of what I submitted, so I knew that if the project was right, it would happen. I'm pretty sure exactly a week later, my manager called me and told me that I had a callback. So now I got to go on Zoom with the casting directors and take their notes and just tweak the scenes a little bit. This was my first Zoom audition ever, but I was in such an amazing acting class at the time, and we practiced Zoom auditions in every class. I'm so grateful because I felt very prepared, even though obviously Zoom auditions were so new for everyone. Fun fact, I did have a lighting issue when I was on the Zoom because the sun had set and I did not have lighting equipment. So I literally just said how prepared I was. I felt prepared with the acting part and with the taking notes part, but I did not have lighting set up. I thought I would be going in earlier. That was something I learned, to always be prepared no matter what the natural light is going to be. That really could have stressed me out more than it did. I'm really glad I didn't let it like throw me off, but the callback went really great. The casting directors, Jenny and Monica, were really nice, and it was just fun to implement their notes. It just kind of felt like an acting class. So I got off that and I was like, all right, I did my best and we'll see what happens. I don't remember how long I had to wait before finding out that I got a producer session, but that was the next step. So basically that was another Zoom with the casting directors, but this time the producers were on and the director. I remember I could see a lot of the girls' first names in the waiting room on the Zoom. I started getting in my head because I was a fan of so many of them and I had been following a lot of their journeys for so long. So I just knew that it was gonna come down to, like every audition, how the puzzle has to fit. If I was right for it, I was right for it. Keep in mind, I was still auditioning for the Rubies at this time, so Nina wasn't even a thought in my head. But I was also too so just grateful to be in a virtual room with these other girls who I've looked up to for so long and still look up to, so that was actually really cool. That is when I met Michael Lembeck, our incredible director, and again, this just felt like an amazing acting class. He gave me a bunch of notes and we just worked on different ways that I could play these characters. It really didn't feel like there was this job on the line and the stakes were so high and that Nickelodeon execs were watching and this is my dream, because Michael just made the environment so much fun, and I just remember really having a good time and being sad when it was over. The next day, actually the next morning, I was told that I was still in the running and I'd be moving forward. I dropped to my knees and started crying. Oh my gosh, I was so happy. I didn't know what that meant though. I didn't know what the next step was going to be. All I knew was that I was in the clear and I was still being considered for, oh, actually, I thought at one point, I thought that one person would be playing Ruby D and Ruby M. The night the prom came out on Netflix, my manager called me and told me that I would be doing a chemistry read on Monday. So I'm pretty sure that was a Thursday or a Friday, and then the chemistry read was that Monday. So I was sent the full script and I had additional sides for Ruby D and Ruby M. I was still being considered for both, but I'm pretty sure they had me in mind more so for Ruby D. Seeing a full script of a Nickelodeon movie with my name watermarked was such a special feeling, and that's actually when we found out for certain that it was JoJo's movie. Her name was Coco in the script up until then, I guess for privacy reasons. In the script, all of the songs were from her previous albums because they hadn't released the new music yet. I just remember sitting in my dad's office, printing the script, reading each page and being like, oh my gosh, I want this so badly. That night, my mom and I stayed up until midnight to watch the prom right when it was released, and that was crazy because when you're a dancer, you have no idea how much screen time you're gonna get. And I totally lucked out. Long story short, Kerry Washington ended up joining The Last Dance the day of. I got to stand right next to her practically the whole dance, and so a lot of my camera time was because I was just in the background and she was there. My mom and I would just yell at the TV every time we saw me. My brain was in so many places I could hardly think straight, but I was trying to celebrate the prom and be really present for that while at the same time, you know, I was in the process for the J team. Monday comes along, I get on the Zoom, it's with the same people, the casting directors, the director, the Nickelodeon execs, probably more people that I couldn't see because their cameras were off. But this time, JoJo was there and Carrington was reading for Ruby M, and she ended up playing Ruby M in the movie. Nothing went wrong, but I do remember getting off the Zoom and just breaking down in tears. The magic that I had felt in the previous auditions just wasn't there. I knew that it was the end for me. Well, obviously I didn't know that Nina was gonna happen. I don't know what it was, but I just knew that it didn't go as well as it needed to go for that final callback. So I cried a lot, and then 2 days later, we found out that I did not get it. And then I cried even more. 2 days after that, I call my friends and I'm like, you know what, let's go on a picnic. I need to get out of the house and do something. We're walking out of Albertsons. I'm holding sushi and chips. My manager calls me. And so I answered and I was like, hi. I really didn't think anything of it. And she goes, where are you? And I said, the parking lot of Albertsons. And she goes, in 30 minutes you have a Zoom session with casting for a different role. And I was like, okay. Truly, I was like, okay. And so I got in the car. My poor friend had to sit in my backyard for like an hour when I got ready, and I had to put my whole self-tape area up. I read the full script, so I knew Nina existed, but I didn't focus on that character because I was auditioning for the Rubies. Honestly, I was so sad from not getting the Rubies. When I got the call for Nina, I really didn't think anything of it. I was like, okay, you know, that's cool. And so I got on Zoom with the casting directors. I did my thing. I definitely felt more in the pocket for Ruby D. That's also because I worked on those scenes with 2 different coaches. But for Nina, I literally just read the lines, you know, thought about the character a little bit, and then had to get on the Zoom. After that was done, I was like, okay, I mean, you know, we'll see what happens. The next day I had a producer session for Nina, so same drill, back on Zoom with the director, casting directors. I don't know if the Nick execs were there, but that was so much fun to really get to start fleshing out this character with Michael. I would not cast myself as the mean girl, but after I started to play with the character, I was like, wait, this could be really fun. That night we found out the recording from the Zoom that day from the producer session was being sent to the network, and I think it was between me and maybe 2 other girls. The deal had to be closed by Monday. This was a Friday. I don't even think I ate anything Saturday or Sunday because I was an anxious wreck. I was told some of the things that I would be experiencing if I were to book the job. I remember looking up the website of the hotel in Vancouver that we ended up quarantining in and just thinking to myself, this is crazy. Like, I cannot believe that I'm this close to this complete dream come true. Monday morning finally comes and I get a call from my managers that I booked the job, and I just started screaming. I was running downstairs to go tell my parents and I just collapsed in the middle of the stairway. Here's the video. It was so much pent up emotion from the whole audition process for the Rubies and then for Nina. I could not believe that I was going to be living in Vancouver for 2 months and living my dreams with someone who's inspired me forever. A month later, my mom and I left for Canada. When we got to the airport, I first saw Kiara, who plays Ruby D. Not only were we in the prom together, we shared a trailer, so super small world. I then met JoJo and Jess and Carrington, and we were off to Vancouver. We got picked up from the airport, driven straight to the hotel, and then we went into quarantine for 2 weeks. We did not leave our hotel rooms for 14 days. I did vlog quarantine, so that will be linked in the description. During these 2 weeks, JoJo, Carrington, Kiara, and I would get on Zoom with our incredible choreographer and assistant choreographer, Heather and Joe. This is when we learned all of the choreography from the movie. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, 8. Then we had 2 weeks of in-person dance rehearsal, and I finally got to meet all of the girls who lived in Vancouver and just the entire cast. I instantly clicked with everybody. There truly was not a bad egg in the entire cast and crew. Mind you, this was still thick of COVID, so we were fully masked, fully shielded. It did not bother me. I was just so beyond grateful and in shock that I was in Vancouver in the middle of a global pandemic filming a movie. We had so much fun during those rehearsals, and I do have a vlog. I just pressed record and the video is 13 minutes of us just going crazy. So if you want to see that video will also be linked in the description. I also got to meet the incredible Tisha Campbell, who is such an icon and a legend, and I cannot believe that I got to work with her. She was so wonderful, so kind and welcoming, and I just learned so much from working with her and talking to her. I turned 19 during the rehearsal process, and that was my favorite birthday I've ever had. Obviously, I was traveling doing what I love. We actually didn't have in-person rehearsal that day. I think there was something related to COVID. No one got COVID and there were no COVID complications, so we were so grateful for that. We did have a table read on Zoom, so that was very exciting. This was my first acting job, and the fact that I got to do a stunt and have a stunt double and have stunt rehearsals was so cool. I remember seeing the storyboard for what the stunt was going to look like, and I was like, sign me up, I am there, I am ready. My stunt double's name was Leanne. She was wonderful, and that whole experience was just so cool. The filming process took a month, which is a very short time frame to make a movie, but we got it done. I would go to set even when I wasn't filming, just, you know, to be there and support my friends. And we also had COVID tests, I think every other day. So sometimes I would go to set and have a COVID test, and I remember I had one when they were filming You and I, so I was kind of like in the background for that. I also, of course, went to set when they were filming Change Me. For those of you who do not know, I am the biggest fan of Nobody Can Change Me. From the second I heard that song, I was like, this is incredible. I was sitting in the audience watching them film that, living my best life. Filming days were pretty long, which I love, but of course you still are a human being and you get pretty exhausted. And on top of that, I would juggle auditions. I remember there was one morning I was on set in the hair and makeup trailer, and I was looking at a script for another audition, and I felt like such, I don't know, I just felt like it was such an actor moment. The grind really never stops. That was something that I learned during this. You're always working towards the next thing. So being present is really hard, and I talked about that with Tisha a little bit. Photo shoot day was one of my favorite days ever. I actually was also preparing for an audition that day. I think we were on set for that shoot for like 8 hours, and then my mom rushed me back to the hotel and I got on Zoom with my coach and taped for another audition. I was not expecting to be on the cover of the movie or the album or do any, you know, press photo shoot, but it happened, and I think that's what made it so special, is that it totally took me by surprise. I felt like I was in a movie. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I just was so happy. I really was so present that day, and I just felt that joy of like, oh my god, I'm living a dream. The vlog from that day will be linked in the description as well. When I wrapped, I was so sad. It was so hard saying goodbye to everyone. This was my life for 2 months. Leaving all of that and going back to like my normal stuff definitely was an adjustment. It reminded me of post-show depression after you finish a musical and you're like, what do I do with my life? Kind of that. August came around and I was lucky enough to be included in the press junket, which is something that I have always dreamed of. I met with a stylist and I had a hair and makeup artist come over. I'm gonna say this for everything. I did vlog that. That will be linked in the description. That experience was incredible. I learned so much. Being on J14's YouTube channel is something that I have manifested for so long. I remember waking up a few mornings after we had done the interview, and I seen my notification box on YouTube that our interview on J14 went live, and I saw my face in the thumbnail, and I was like, oh my god, I've dreamed of this forever. We then found out we were having a drive-in premiere at the Rose Bowl, and not only that, I got to perform live with JoJo, which is something that I have wanted to do for so long. It was just the icing on the cake of the whole experience. And I actually wore this sweater in the performance. If you guys want to see our full performance from the premiere, that video is on Paramount Plus's YouTube channel. Oh my gosh, was that a dream. I can't even express how much that moment meant to me personally and just my own journey of following my passions. I got to do my first carpet. My aunt and cousin, the one who was obsessed with JoJo, flew in from New York to be with me and my family this weekend for the premiere. So that was so incredibly special. I just remember my little cousin sitting on my lap in the car watching the movie after I just performed. That was a moment I'll never forget. The next day, we had a party at the Breakfast Club. Just getting to celebrate with a few of the cast members and a lot of people that I admire was really, really special. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I watched Success with Jess religiously. So when Jess asked me to be on the podcast, I flipped out. I was so excited. So a few days after the Breakfast Club party, my mom and I drove to the Siwa's house and I was on the podcast. That was one of the best experiences everything from this whole experience was magical, but getting to be on that podcast was just something I have very specifically, I won't even say manifested, because it was just something that I subconsciously manifested, so getting to experience that was really, really special. I'm filming this video on August 30th. It just popped up on my phone that exactly a year ago today is when my mom and I went and saw all the billboards in LA. I remember that night so vividly. I vlogged it. I'll link it down below. That was crazy. Driving down LA and seeing my friends and I on billboards and going to the Grove. We were on the huge billboard when you drive into the Grove. We were in Times Square, which sadly we didn't get to see in person, you know, because of COVID. I went to New York a few months ago and I looked at my phone where the J-Team billboard was and I, you know, saw the billboard that we were on in person, and I was like, I can't even imagine standing here in Times Square and seeing my friends and I on that billboard that we were on. Now we're on DVDs and they're available in Target and Walmart, and every time I go to Target, I swing by, and we were actually sold out last time I went, which is exciting. I'll never forget, a few weeks before the movie came out, I was making breakfast in the kitchen and I turned on Nickelodeon because I still watch Nickelodeon all the time, and like most kids, I grew up watching Nickelodeon and Disney Channel. So anyway, I turned on the TV to watch Victorious or something, and when the commercial break happened, I saw the first J-Team commercial. I saw a clip that I was in, and I started crying. I was like, this is so crazy. None of it is lost on me. I don't take any of this for granted. This is something that I've worked towards and dreamed of for so long, and I'm just so grateful to have had these experiences. It's so incredible when you get to sit for a moment in something that you've dreamed of and get to just kind of let it wash over you and witness it. I also can't express enough how much I appreciate the amount of love that I received from you guys. I was so blown away when I posted the Deadline article on my Instagram, and I think I shared something on my YouTube channel, but I really had no idea how many people were following my journey and have been watching my videos. In honor of the J-Team coming out 1 year ago today, go watch it on Paramount Plus if you haven't already, or even if you have, go watch it again. I've watched it like 15 times. Just talking about this experience reminds me that your wildest dreams are so attainable, so you just must keep going. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!